I've been up to a lot of things behind the scenes, and today I'm going to share a detailed look at some changes we are making in an effort to honor a vision that I have. Hey ladies, it's Amanda. Welcome to the Feel Amazing Naked podcast. This is a show where we dig deep, get honest, and talk about all the unsexy steps it takes to meet your goals. Whether you want to get fit, eat healthier, make more money, start a business, or any other results you desire in your life. Most of all, this podcast is for women who are ready to feel amazing naked on the outside and the inside. So ladies, time to take it off. Welcome to this week's episode. I am so excited you're here. This is an episode that is actually kind of feeling a little emotional as I was preparing some notes for it. Really, today's episode is to give a behind the scenes, very transparent, open, honest heart conversation around some of the changes that are going to be taking place around here because I'm freaking excited about them. It's been a long time coming, and I'm finally excited to just talk about it on the podcast, especially as we approach our 200th episode. I've been podcasting for several years now, and it's proven to be, for me, almost a healing, very therapeutic journey and a space to hold myself accountable for just being me and being true to who I am and not having any filters in a world where I feel like in business so much, there's so many filters and facades. You don't really get like a full picture. But I do think podcasting, video content, maybe, but more podcasting when I personally have committed myself on this journey to not edit. So I just record and hit record and record all the way through. And sometimes I say like 55 times. Sometimes I screw it up. I fumble over my words. It's truly a podcast that I believe is, full of realness. And I want to lead in business the same way. And so as we move towards another phase of business, today's show is all about kind of sharing the changes that are happening around here and why. And you may have already kind of picked up on it a little bit, especially if you follow social media, especially if you're on my email list. I have been transparent about the email list changing direction, and I really was telling people that were a part of it, like, hey, come along or not. I'll talk about scrubbing my list in just a little bit and what that is and why it's important. But I do think it's important because some of you literally have been tuning into the podcast since the first episode was released, basically almost 3+ years ago. I decided to host a podcast when I kept trying to force my square peg of a round hole of blogging. It wasn't really feeling good to me. And through the work with a coach, mentor, I really had some clarity around, I just want to share my voice. I have stuff to say and I have a story to share and I have a genius to share to the world. And it was a very scary action to say yes to podcasting and to be consistent with it. I have not missed an episode since we've been doing this. That is something in the podcasting world, from my perspective, that's critical because if you look at podcast episodes, some people start with this full gusto and they don't necessarily have the grit, the desire, the vision, or the systems in place to make space for consistent content creation. So if you are a coach or a business owner, an online business owner, I really want you to think about how amazing consistency is and how powerful it is. It's not an overnight success. It's definitely a long haul game. That's what I'm here for, the marathon and not the sprint. And the podcast continues to be just below word of mouth referrals, the single way we generate client leads. And that's because you get to hear me, you get to know who I am, you get to decide if you like what I have to say or not, and you want to go away, or if you want to stay and come back to us. And then you get value, right? And that's the whole point of podcasting, is to give you all the value, answer all the questions possible, both strategical and mindset wise. And that's what we're going to continue to do here. And things are going to change ever so slightly. So I want to share a little bit about where I've kind of been over, I would say probably the last 2+ years. I organically kind of fell into entrepreneurship. I don't know if you know this about me, but I want to share this just so you kind of know my backstory of way before you might have shown up to be a listener to this show. But I got my first coaching job when I was 15, and I worked for a local YMCA coaching boys Pee Wee basketball. They were 4 and 5-year-olds. Well, a lot of my time was spent herding cats and telling them to keep their hands to themselves. It was also the first time I experienced what it felt like to see another human being rise to reach their full potential and to celebrate their success and transformation along with them. Maybe it was like learning that first ability to dribble with your head up or make your first basket or support your teammate. It gave me enough in that moment to say wow, I like this and I think I'm kind of good at it. I went on to accept a job for the WNBA. It was the inaugural season, and they were hiring teenage girls to coach, underprivileged youth in the art and skill of basketball and teamwork. And I got to go to the arena. I got to meet all these cool people. And I got, most importantly, to coach these girls and be a cheerleader for them. And that was so powerful. It was a really amazing experience. Fast forward, though, coaching has just always been, from that time on, who I have been. I coached more sports. I became a teacher, which was coaching teenagers, but I also coached my colleagues. I taught a lot of adult, teacher education training. And throughout that, also coached high school sports, went on to coach CrossFit. And that's when I fell into entrepreneurship, specifically focused around nutrition and health, and eventually into life coaching. And with all of this, I have learned so much about the skill of peopling, the skill of being human, the skill of making space for people to be seen and heard, and truly refining the art of coaching and finding my voice in the coaching world, and working a crap ton of stuff in my mind around what that looks like. And so that's always kind of been in the back of my brain. And as I built my business a few years ago, people organically started to come to me and said, "Hey, Amanda, we see what you're doing. We see that you are this teacher who basically had zero marketing experience, zero sales experience, zero business experience, and have built this thing. And I have this vision too. Will you help me build it?" And in the beginning, I had a lot of imposter syndrome around it, which I talk about here and have talked about recently in this month, around the fact that I'm not qualified to lead people in business. I don't have a business degree. I haven't been really running a business for 10 years. And what I realized was that I actually had a lot to give, because I was in the thick of it. I was in the mud with people. And the more I began to do that work, the more clarity I began to have on how much it lit me up, and how much I started to see not only people grow in the online business building space, but also the coaching industry wildly grow. I want to share this statistic with you that by 2023, the coaching industry is projected to be almost a $22 to $23 million business, the second most profitable online industry. That's crazy. There's two reasons I think this is happening. One, it's easily accessible. There's literally no barrier of entry to being a coach, which is the problem I'm going to talk about. But second is that people are starting to see the value of coaching. And while I love therapy and its modality, there are things that you just can't do as a therapist that coaches can, that are really transformative. And I've talked about that, and we'll always talk about that on the show. However, as I began to see the online business space and the coaching industry, I really began to see all of these beautiful, amazingly talented people that had a skill set and had a passion just as I did. And maybe were even going out to get certifications to feel ready, and they were just not taking action. Or I would see people coaching people, and I see this all the time, doing really crappy things as a coach. And maybe they don't even know that they are. But what became eye-opening for me is the integrity of the coaching industry and the commitment we have to our clients. So several months back, I got an email from someone, and the question asked was this: if you weren't chasing the money, and you weren't chasing safety, and you basically weren't worried about the number of clients coming in, would you be doing what you were doing? And it was a hard answer, but truthfully, my intuition was a very clear no. I wouldn't be doing exactly what I'm doing now. And so I had to sit with that. It was very emotional, because I was like, shit, I've been building this thing. I've been growing this thing, and it's been very successful. It's been successful revenue-wise. It's been successful for my family. It's been successful for time freedom. It's been successful because I've got to meet a lot of amazing women. And we change, right? And you've heard me say this on the show, that I always, as a teacher, committed to never being a filing cabinet teacher, never being the teacher that just reaches in every year and is like, it's January, I do the January lesson. I'm not that girl. I always have been very attuned to what my students had needed. And I promised myself that I would keep refining that and breathing life into the art of teaching as well. With that question and my own response, I realized I had to do something different. And so in the middle of the last cohort of the Feel Amazing Naked program, I reached out to my team, who I know thought oh gosh, what is this? Another crazy Amanda thing. It's like, okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and pivot. We're just going to no longer be offering the fan cohort, and we're going to exclusively change direction and focus on coaches, online service providers. And you may not be exclusively a coach, but what I have to say really impacts people that aren't coaches too. Mentors, guides, teachers, consultants, if you all identify as a healer, but I think we're all coaches in some capacity. If we have children, if we have colleagues, there's learnings to be had from this show and where we're moving forward, even if you don't self-identify as a coach. I felt like at that moment that I would be feeling like a fraud in my business if I wasn't doing what my heart is calling me to, because that's literally what I preach. And honestly, I just stopped the program without knowing what the heck I was doing. I just had a clear vision and a clear answer that there was something different that was calling my heart, and I needed to take action on it. So here we are. I have much more clarity in that vision. But now what I have is I feel like I've lost 15 pounds of weight, because here's what was happening. And this is kind of the businessy aspect of it is in business, we have an ideal client. And that ideal client is very much the compass, the North Star of our business, because all the content we create, all the programs we develop, everything we do in business is really geared for that ideal client. My struggle is I had multiple. I had the ideal client who I was catering to that would want to join the fan cohort, more of my general life coaching. And then I also have the ideal client who was an online business owner, specifically a coach, and trying to create content on this podcast or create content in social media to develop programs for really two different funnels of people. I was feeling exhausted, and honestly, it was tapping me out. It was making me feel frustrated. I felt like I was doing a disservice to both because I couldn't lend my whole self to it. And so I felt like I was hanging on to what was because it was good. It was really great. It's like, why fix something that's not broken? While that's true, it's also not where my heart was. And a lot of learnings I was doing of lately just was screaming to me, Amanda, simplify. Amanda, one funnel, one product, one program rather, one person, and give your mind a rest. And so I really, really had to honor that. But to get to that place that we are now, it's taken a lot of freaking work and a lot of mud that I feel like I've been in and a lot of emotional roller coasters. My amazing husband has been helping me pick myself up at floor a lot because there is doubt along the way when you're leaving something and starting new. And also when you're starting something new all to begin with, which might be you listening, you're going to have the same feelings that I feel. Because in a lot of ways, I feel like, whoa, I'm kind of starting over in some ways, and that is hard. But I want to share a little bit more strategically what we've been doing behind the scenes to really go through an entire rebrand and to create a fresh look and feel to an existing brand that was already doing well, so it doesn't feel starkly different. One of the big free pieces of value I want to give you today is something I learned, and I teach to mostly my one-to-one clients on our first coaching session, is when I first started business, I went to buy a domain and amandawalker.com was available, but I was like, that's too simple. Like, I don't want to be my name. I need a clever business name. And so through conversations with Justin and I, it first evolved into A Walk My Way. I bought that domain. Then years later, it evolved into the Feel Amazing Naked concept. And so I bought those domains. And then I was like, crap. Even when I launched the Feel Amazing Naked program, I didn't have the domain yet. I had that program running for a couple of years before we actually hosted a website, like landing page for it. At that point, I was already like, man, it would be so much easier just to be me and for these things that I do to have program titles underneath me. So here we are, figured that out. But now amandawalker.com is, of course, not available, or it is for like an ungodly amount of money that I'm not interested in paying. So here's the lesson. If you're just starting out, I really, 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 really encourage you to just buy your name. So susiejoe.com, amandawalker.com, and I'm super common name and you might be too. So it just may be unavailable, but just buy it. It's like $2 a year to hang on to that domain. You may or may not decide to use it, but I really want to encourage you to do that. Take that one little tip and put it to practice. Even if you're in this ideation phase where you're just like, am I or not? You'll be glad that you listened to this piece of advice because I wish somebody would have told me this early on in my journey. And so here we are. Over time, as I got clarity, I feel a lot of frustration in the coaching industry. And so I realized I was kind of bitching a lot about it, and I wanted to become a part of the solution and not continue to be a part of the problem. And so for that, what I am here to do is just help coaches refine their art and skill and their mastery of coaching. I want them to be better coaches. I want them to be more confident. And that could mean that they have a certification and they still don't feel confident. That could mean they've practiced for years. That could mean they don't have a certification at all. That could mean they're in an MLM and they've decided to take on this title of coach and they have no coaching skill set whatsoever. All of these people are filling the coaching industry, which means we're going to have more opportunity to coach people. And if we aren't doing it with integrity, then we're doing our clients a disservice. And there are a lot of people out there that are hunting down the dollar instead of the deep desire to transform and change lives. And so I want you to come along on that journey with me and really look at how do we uphold the work we do in this world in an authentic, congruent way that truly is of service, with money coming because we pursue the goodness and the richness of what it is to lead people. With that, here's some things that we've done strategically since we've made that decision. The first thing is I had like this crazy experience of channeling content. I'm sure you've had this before where you just like said yes to something or made a decision and then all the pieces aligned and the universe or God basically said to you, yes, honor yourself. So that's kind of what happened to me. And I had like this raging download of content to build out our new program that is actually open right now. We are open the doors for our founders rate, which is a significant discount for those that are like, yes, Amanda, let's do this. I want to be a part of this founding community. I'm going to hold on to tell you the names of all these things till episode 200. So you do have to come along with me because next episode, you are going to see completely new artwork on the podcast, completely new intros, completely new outros, and a similar look and feel as far as the flow is concerned. But one of the things is I realized that the Feel Amazing Naked brand just doesn't align. And I want to be me. And I also want to have a podcast that very much calls out who I am coaching. And while the Feel Amazing Naked concept is cool and it sounds great, it's very ambiguous. And so I find people, are wanting weight loss tips. I find people are wanting body neutrality, positivity, self-image work. And that's actually not all the stuff that I intended it to be. And what I realized is, okay, when I shift and pivot, I want to really call out with crystal clear clarity who it is that I am serving on this podcast so that there's no questions asked. And I also understand that when we do that, we narrow ourselves down. And so that's been a huge part of the self-coaching I've been doing over the last couple weeks, kind of grieving the loss of some amazing women that have been on this journey with me. And that may be one of you listening right now. Like the content that I'm going to continue share may no longer align to who you are and what you're experiencing in life or want in your own life. And I'm okay with that. And I have to be okay with that as I grow and evolve because I have to honor myself. And so I just want to say to you, if you've been a listener and the content as we change no longer aligns, I for real can't even thank you enough for just tuning in every week and sharing. And if you haven't left a review, tell me, send me an email, let me know, because that is part of this process that's been really challenging, is knowing that people are going to leave and the content's no longer going to be of value to them, and it makes me sad. It makes me emotional. And it also makes me really excited. So the things we've been doing strategically are creating a new name for the podcast and new intros and outros, new description, all of that, which will be arriving on episode 200 next week. So stay tuned and please share with the world. It's been a lot of work to get to this point. The other thing that's been happening is I channeled this like amazing content for the new program. So a lot of the work we've been doing is thinking about obviously the marketing strategies to get the ideal client in. And so we've created a new freebie for coaches and online service providers. So if you haven't downloaded that yet, I would love for you to. It's 10 powerful questions that I think every coach must have in their back pocket to help their clients get better results. And you can download that at amanda-walker.com/questions. So we've been brainstorming, or I've been brainstorming a lot. My team, shout out to my team, Tina, to Angelie, to Courtney, to Steve, for being with my crazy, first off. And second, to just helping do a lot of the execution work from the ideation stage into application and making it relevant. But we're so excited about that freebie. We have another one on the way. And we've been working on the program. And so all the learnings I've had from running programs, one-to-one coaching, and then one-to-many programs, I feel like are really coming to fruition, because what I'm not creating is just another place to have video content where you watch modules. I really think that that's not serving our clients. And instead, what we've really created is a community environment where the live coaching sessions are real life. So I don't know if you ever had the professor that lectured you and said, I did as a teacher, the best way to teach your students is to never lecture them the whole time while they lectured you the whole time. A lot of what I do in my group programs is not that. There's a lot of application and integration in the moment. And so this program will be that. So much integration. We're having a practice playground for coaches to come and actually coach. So I'm going to be giving a topic that day, and then we're going to coach each other so we can practice and get feedback. We'll have a network for client referrals. We're going to be doing monthly coaching clinics, hot topics inside the coaching and online business industry. And what we've done is created vaults, basically done for you vaults. So resources that when you say, like, I don't know what to do in my first coaching session, or my client like always shows up 5 minutes late, what do I do? Or I need a nurture sequence. So when my client says yes to my coaching, there's some emails that kick out to them. We literally wrote all those for you. I've been writing content like a mad woman, and Tina and Angeli have been in the background making it come to life and putting it into templates so that when you join our program, you have all the businessy stuff done for you. You can just go grab the templates and put them into play in your own world, and you can truly focus on client service and client delivery. And that to me is worth $1 million in and of itself. I wish somebody would have provided access to me that way in the beginning. So we've been building content. We've been shifting the name of the podcast. And the other thing is we've been scrubbing our email list. What that means is email lists in the online space is critical to growth and to profitability and to reaching your clients. And so you build an email list by providing some sort of free value, and then your ideal client opts in, and you have this list of email addresses that you can communicate to. And when the timing is right and you maybe have a service to offer, you can email them. Well, my list is filled with people that have been following me for, the last 5 to 6 years, and they may not all want to hang around now. It takes bravery and courage, but I just basically said I need to be honest with my people and just let them know the direction I'm going and let them opt out if they don't want to be a part of it. And so we sent a series of emails out and scrubbing, right? Getting rid of, cleaning up our list and letting those people know. And man, I told myself I wasn't going to look at the people that opted out, but I did. And there were some ones that I was just like, man, I've been with these people for 5 years. I'm so sad to see them go. And I totally know that my content and where I'm going is not going to meet them where they're at. It doesn't make sense for people. So that's been a really big thing. But I also scrub my list about every 6 months. And I really encourage you to do the same, especially if you're evolving or in a different place. It's a really great hygiene practice to keep inside your email list so that you're keeping the list active and engaged with the right people on it. And lastly, we decided I am going on a publicity tour. I'm going on a podcast tour. I have been hitting the publicity grounds really hard. And that is, I've been pitching myself to podcasts and making connections because I really want to tell the world about this gap that I see in the coaching industry, because it's certifications over here. And then over here, it's people that are kind of on the fence of like coaching, but there's nobody serving the gap of what happens when you say yes to being a coach and finishing your certification and then have no support on these like really the weekly things that come up inside of a coaching practice. And when you're a coach, that energetically are exhausting. And there's nobody out there talking about like, let's uphold the integrity of the coaching industry. So this is the gap I want to talk about. So we have been pitching podcasts, making connections. So if you are a podcast host and you're open to this discussion, I'd love to come hop on with you and have the discussion. That's felt really good. So I have been recording, multiple times a week on other people's show, and we're not stopping there. We're keeping going because we want to put this message out there and invite people to come along with us on our journey. And lastly, what we've been doing is refreshing our website. So if you visit feelamazingNaked.com, you will still find all the episode show notes. We want to honor that because we know that content's going to live out there forever. But when you do land on the homepage specifically, it's going to let you know that the real action's taking place now at the amanda-walker.com place. So you can get a sneak peek of what's going on if you go visit that website now, amanda-walker.com. You can see that. Shout out to Tiffany Newman Creative. She's my friend. She's a fellow coach and just a colleague that I've gone through a lot of life with when it comes to work. And I send people to her often in the work she does, but she's done an entire website refresh for me and has helped me kind of bring the vision I had to life and helps with new artwork description and just all the like front end kind of more sexy looking pieces that were necessary. And I wrote all the copy though, which has felt really good. And it feels like I really know my ideal client, which I've not had that clarity before. And lastly, the other thing that's been happening behind the scenes is a crap ton of self-coaching. I've been doing a lot of mindset work because there have been a lot of lows in this moment of self-doubt of wondering, am I making the right move? a lot of self-doubt of, are people going to come along with me? There's fear, there's risk. People kind of know me as one person, and my great friends have said, but you're so good at that. Why are you leaving that? I'm like, I know. And I'm not changing, right? I really believe, and I said this in teaching, I would be happy to teach any content, English, theater, science. It was the content that I liked, but it was the implementation and the creative energy and the actual execution of getting people to understand the content that lights me up. And that's how I feel about coaching too. I do think, knowing your content is important. I think what's more important is eliciting results in people. And that is an art form that takes practice and years, for me, of years of working on that. And that's the part that I'm like super excited about. And that's the part that tells me a big heck yes to the direction of focus for us. But that doesn't come without a lot of feelings about it, from going from really high highs to lows, and self-coaching myself to try to navigate and hang tight in that middle space has definitely brought on a lot of opportunity to grow, especially because here we are in the summertime, and typically I really slow things down in the summer. So trying to honor that and still honor my heart and have a lot of creative space. So I've truly just given myself the time to slow down and love my one-to-one clients. And I'm so open to one-to-one work continually inside this one-to-one business coaching work and life coaching work. Those are things that are not going away necessarily right now or anytime soon, but truly focusing on building a community, an army for me of confident and competent coaches that can support and uplift each other is this vision and mission that I am after. And so I wanted to catch you up to speed, let you in on behind the scenes of letting all the things that have been going down around here in an effort to get you excited for the big reveal that's coming up on episode 200. As we reveal the new podcast art, the new name. I might have spoiler alerted it already, honestly. I may have. You might already know. If you follow me, you probably hear me talk about it a little bit. But the 200th episode felt like the right time to just say yes to shifting everything. And that energy feels big and amazing. And I, again, just want to thank you so much for being on this journey with me. Choosing to hit play every week is not one that I take lightly, because I too know how much time is valuable for you, and that there's lots of amazing podcasts out there, and that you keep choosing to say yes to me every week is something that I am so honored by. And if there's any thoughts you have after hearing this episode, or you want to chat more, or you have feedback, please let me know. You can email us at support@amanda-walker.com, or just hit me up on Instagram, @walkmyway. And come along with us. We are doing a 200th episode giveaway. I'm going to be giving away some juicy stuff, which I'm announcing next week on the 200th episode. And I would love for you to be a part of all of it. So again, I am so honored that you're here, and I'm so excited for you to continue with me. The Feel Amazing Naked podcast is growing, literally doubling downloads every single month. And it's humbling, but really it's all because of you. So I just want to say thank you for listening and continuing to listen. Help us grow by sharing the Feel Amazing Naked podcast on your social media platform. If you're listening to an episode, take a screenshot, share it in your story, on your social, tag me, leave a review if you feel so inclined, but please allow me to help more women by sharing the awesome content that I create. So thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me.